A randomized comparison of cold snare polypectomy versus a suction pseudopolyp technique. Introduction. It is widely accepted that colonoscopic polypectomy reduces the incidence and mortality of colorectal cancer by disrupting the polyp cancer sequence. However, the vast majority of polyps encountered during routine colonoscopy are diminutive, 1 to 5 millimeters, or small, 6 to 9 millimeters, and 9% to 10% will have advanced histology. It is not known which of these polyps will progress to cancer, so all are removed. Several polypectomy techniques are available for the removal of small polyps, with the choice of technique influenced by the size, site, and morphology of the polyp and the practice of the colonoscopist. Many advocate the use of a cold snare for the removal of diminutive and small polyps, since it avoids diathermy-associated complications. However, incomplete resection rates of 7% to 21% have been reported with cold snare techniques. In an attempt to improve completeness of resection, Patullo et al. Describe a novel method, the pseudopolyp technique, for the removal of small polyps, and achieved complete endoscopic resection rates of 100% without any immediate or delayed complications. These impressive results, however, were non-comparative, and no assessment was made of the histological completeness of excision. The authors have therefore undertaken a randomized comparison of the suction pseudopolyp technique and standard cold snare polypectomy, and incorporated an assessment of the histological completeness of excision. Background. Cold snare techniques are widely used for removal of diminutive and small colorectal polyps. The influence of resection technique on the effectiveness of polypectomy is unknown. Din et al. Therefore compared standard cold snare polypectomy with a newly described suction pseudopolyp technique for completeness of excision and for complications. Patients and methods. In this single-center study, 112 patients were randomized to cold snare polypectomy or the suction pseudopolyp technique. Primary outcome was endoscopic completeness of excision. Consensus regarding the endoscopic assessment of completeness of excision was standardized and aided by chromoendoscopy. Secondary outcomes included completeness of histological excision, polyp flyaway and retrieval rates, early bleeding, 48 hours, delayed bleeding, 2 weeks, and perforation. Results. 148 polyps were removed with size range 3 to 7 millimeters, 60% in the left colon and 90% being sessile. Regarding completeness of excision, with uncertain findings omitted, endoscopically this was higher with the suction pseudopolyp technique compared with cold snare polypectomy, but not statistically significantly so. 73 of 74, 98.6%, versus 63 of 68, 92.6%, p equals 0.08. A trend towards a higher complete histological excision rate with the suction pseudopolyp technique was also not statistically significant. 45 of 59, 76.3%, versus 37 of 58, 63.8%, p equals 0.14. Polyp retrieval rate was not significantly different. Suction 68 of 76, 89.5%, versus cold snare 64 of 72, 88.9%, p equals 0.91. No perforation or bleeding requiring hemostasis occurred in either group. Conclusion. In this study, both polypectomy techniques were found to be safe and highly effective, but further large multicenter trials are required. Clinical trial registration at www.clinicaltrials.gov:/NCT 022-08401.